All right, what is up, everybody? We are live on this Thursday edition of the show. So let's start off with the big news of the day. This via J-Ski, where I'm reading this article. Ryan Sparks will return to the pit box as crew chief for Justin Haley in the number 17 duration of the 2025 season. Sparks will once again serve a dual role as crew chief and director of competition. Him and Justin Haley had a little bit of success toward the end of last year. So hoping, I guess they're hoping they can re-spark that. However, the reason he is there is because Spire Motorsports announced Wednesday that Rodney Childers would be parting ways. They said it was a mutual agreement. Also from Jayski here, pulling these two comments from the same article. A statement from Spire Sports co-owner Jeff Dickerson said, NASCAR is an ever-evolving sport, and the path to improvement isn't always comfortable. The break in the Cup Series schedule gave us the chance to evaluate where we were as a program, took the opportunity to discuss the best paths forward for everyone involved in the team, and Rodney agreed that it would be best for us to part ways. Rodney has worked at the highest level of our sport for 20 years, and he knows what it takes to win championships. With that in mind, we collectively acknowledge challenges within the team dynamic. Having the right combination of talent is just as important as the results on track. As we move in a new direction, it is not lost on us that Rodney has been an invaluable asset to our organization, as he will continue to be for others in this sport. So very amicable there, saying all the right things. And here's what Rodney Childers had to say about it. I know this is a shock, but I also know that not everything works out perfect all the time. That's how life works. This was just one of those things that just wasn't going to work for either of us. I appreciate my time at Spire working with Justin Haley and the entire 7 team. We did a lot of good that is yet to be seen, and I wish them the best in the future. I also want to say thank you to everyone at Chevrolet, Mr. H, and everyone at Hendrick Motorsports for my time working with them. Again, it was a pleasure. Thank you to NASCAR, the officials, and most importantly, the fans for your support. For me, I'm going to take a little time, focus on the important things like my family and friends, and honestly just see what the racing world holds for me next. I know the man above will lead me in a direction that is best for me. So also amicable from Rodney Childers. Now, this was a big sign in the offseason. This was one of the biggest pickups in the offseason. Chase Briscoe and Rodney Childers, Josh Berry, if you're with the Wood Brothers, probably the most talked about offseason acquisitions, even though they happened silly season sort of in the middle of it. But Rodney Childers with Kevin, let's just go his career with Kevin Harvick, 30 something wins. I want to say 37 or 38 wins with Kevin Harvick off the top of my head. I counted them earlier and I think it was 37 or around that amount. And a championship in 2014. That's the things that the Rodney Childers supporters are going to point to and say, look, Rodney's a good crew chief, and he is a good crew chief. Nobody's doubting that. However, what the detractors are going to point out is the last few seasons with Rodney Childers, 15th in the points for Kevin Harvick, 13th in the points for Kevin Harvick. And last season with Josh Berry, he ended up 27th in the points. Josh Berry, of course, was a rookie, so factor that in as well. But he's only had 2 wins with this next-gen car since 2022. So a lot of people will point to that and say he hasn't quite figured out this next-gen car just yet. However, with all that factored in and all that being said, they've parted ways. So I have to imagine that at some point during those conversations that it probably was brought up that, hey, does Rodney Childers want to go to a different team? Do you want to work with Michael McDowell? Do you want to work with Carson Hocevar? I would have to imagine with the amount of money that Spire spent to get Rodney Childers over there, and we know it was probably a significant amount of money because I think somebody, at least associated with RCR or somebody associated with another team, possibly, I can't remember exactly who said it off the top of my head, but I remember they just basically said we were outspent. We couldn't match the Spire money. I can't remember who said it off the top of my head. I looked for it earlier. I couldn't really find it, but I know somebody said that. And I want to say it was somebody associated with RCR. So they couldn't get him because they knew the price tag was expensive. So, if Spire spends that much money, that amount of money to secure Rodney Childers, you have to imagine they at least offered to move him somewhere else within the organization, whether it was, another crew chiefing spot or maybe some type of role in competition. I would imagine that was at least brought up and offered. And I'm going to imagine that Rodney Childers just didn't like the fit, like he said. And like Spire's Jeff Dickerson acknowledged, maybe they just didn't like the fit between each other. Rodney Childers is so used to that Stuart Haas way of doing things. Maybe it just ends up being a bad fit. Maybe Rodney Childers turned all that down. I don't know. This is all speculation, but it is really weird that he took the money, right? So you got to imagine he's probably given some of this money back, or maybe not. I don't know how much of it was guaranteed. I don't know, the structure of the contract, but it's really odd that he didn't want to work with another driver. He just seemed to think it's a poor fit within the organization. So we already know, it was already mentioned in that article, that he is going to be replaced by the man that was basically there last year in Ryan Sparks. So Ryan Sparks is going to continue to work with Justin Haley. But the big question now becomes, who replaces? I mean, where does Rodney Childers go now that he is free of his contract from Spire, or maybe he's still under contract? He said he's going to take some time off to think about things. So maybe there is a clause in that contract where he has to think about some things. But it does beg the question, where does he go whenever he is able to go somewhere else? And the four main ones that you see brought up all the time, the first one, of course, is going to be RCR. A lot of Kyle Busch fans, and that's why I wore the short shirt today. A lot of Kyle Busch fans don't believe in Randall Burnett. I don't know why. Randall Burnett, one of the best ones to do it. But however, Kyle Busch fans, they want their guy to win, no doubt about it. So they're clamoring to get Rodney Childers hooked up with Kyle Busch. I think that would be a good combination. I like Randall Burnett, but I think this would be a good combination for sure. They're two veterans. They're sort of in a similar point in their career. They want to win championships. And I think that could certainly work out. The other option would be Trackhouse. Do you pair him with SVG? Do you pair him with Suarez or maybe Chastain? Maybe you want to work something out there. That is one that I've seen a lot of people bring up. Front row, go back to Ford. So that would be an option. Maybe he slides in somewhere in the front row organization, the 34, the 38, somewhere in there. Who knows who you would want him to work with over there. And then the other option would be Legacy or just another team. I say Legacy because you've got the veteran there in Eric Jones. Legacy has made a lot of moves in the offseason to acquire a lot of people, just like RCR did. RCR has a ton of SHR former employees over there, as does Front Row. So that would probably be a comfortable situation for Rodney Childers that he would probably thrive in. So those are the four options. And that, of course, is the poll question right now. RCR KB8 leading the way there. I put other with Legacy because YouTube only gives me four options on that. So that was kind of the big story of the day yesterday, and then a little bit into today, because today it was announced who would replace Rodney Childers. And it's just sort of really strange that you spend all that money to get him, and then it just doesn't work out. And it seems very amicable that both of them are walking away. But even with the Hendrick Alliance, even when you've got Michael McDowell over there, they spent money to get you spent the money to get Justin Haley. And then you've got the rookie of the year last year from Carson Hocevar that you spent money to get. They're spending big money over there, but Rodney Childers apparently didn't like the fit, or Spire didn't like the fit either way, or maybe it was amicable. Neither one of them liked the fit. Just really interesting that they would spend that much money. And then only like 9 races into the season, they let one of the all-timers, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame for his crew chiefing, in my opinion. You let one of those guys get away, and whenever he goes to another team, I do expect him to be very successful at the next team he stops at, wherever that may be, whether it's Trackhouse, RCR, Front Row Motorsports, Legacy, or whomever he ends up landing with. I think they're getting a good one. But for sure, the most popular vote so far is RCR and Kyle Busch. Another thing making its rounds here, and I saw this from Bob Pockrass on Fox Motorsports Insider. Kyle Larson stirred things up a little bit by saying he wanted to embarrass the Xfinity Series drivers when he races against them, and it isn't because he takes joy in crushing the competition. He really wants to show the difference between Cup racing and the Xfinity Series. He wants to prove to young, up-and-coming drivers how far behind they are compared to where they want to go. So that they sort of clickbaited the headline by saying, Kyle Larson wants to crush people in the Xfinity Series, yada, yada, yada. So that's sort of the clickbait headline that you've seen on a lot of these stories. But however, when Larson goes on to explain it, the quote here, and this is from the same article from Bob Pockrass, the kids, they probably think they're in a good spot. they don't know where the bar is at really. So I like to go run those Xfinity Series races and get 10-second leads to let them realize that they've got a lot of room to improve. And I think it's only better for our sport. Bob Pockers goes on to point out Ty Gibbs is the latest to learn. He won 21% of his Xfinity Series races before his rookie Cup year in 2023, and he's still seeking his first Cup Series win. So Bob Pockers points out that Ty Gibbs, even though he won 21% in the Xfinity Series, has had a tough go of it. Although he has turned around the slump here recently. We're not jumping on the Ty Gibbs isn't good bandwagon. I've never been on that bandwagon. He did have a inauspicious start to his career, and most recently he's been in a slump. But more recently he has popped out of that slump. So Ty Rocket Randall Gibbs there, he is out of that slump. But it is interesting, 21%. So what Kyle Larson here is saying is that the Xfinity Series maybe needs to loosen up those rules about Cup Series drivers coming in, because maybe they need more Cup Series drivers in the Xfinity Series to let these younger drivers get better. Maybe five starts. Maybe we need to bump that up just a little bit to get these guys some more experience. Of course, speaking of Kyle Larson, he did wreck in Indianapolis testing today, his first wreck in an Indy car. So that has been making the headlines. I don't know really too much more you can say about that. It was practice, and he wrecked a car that he's not used to driving, which shows how extraordinary what he did last year was. But yes, that's been the other one. What's the other things here? NOS is going to sponsor Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in multiple races. So that's another story that is making its way around here. And I think that is it as far as that goes. But since I will be in Talladega this weekend, one more thing before I jump into the comments, and I am going to get into the comment section here in just a minute, but we got to do the preview. So it doesn't really matter at Talladega where you qualify, because it is a restrictor plate track. So I don't even need to worry about the qualifying that's not happened yet. We can go off of average finish, however. So in your last 6 races since 2022 at Talladega, William Byron going to be your man to beat as far as average finish goes, if that's how you like to set your fantasy lineup. Chandler Smith with one race run here and not in this one at 11.0 is in second. But amongst drivers that have started all 6, in second place is actually going to be Chase Elliott at 11.8. Then you've got Ryan Blaney at 12.5. Eric Jones, a nice pick here. If you need to switch some things up in your fantasy lineup, maybe you've used too many starts, Eric Jones be a good guy to plug in here at a 14.0. Alex Bowman, 14.2. So Hendrick heavy here. At the top as far as average finish goes. Todd G with 6 starts since 2022, 14.5 average finish. Riley Herbst in his 2 starts. Restrictor plate man, Riley Herbst, by the way, 14.5. Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, and then Justin Haley are going to be your next guys on that list. I think that's 10, but if not, Rick Stenhouse Jr., Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch would be your next guys in line for top 10 starts. Let's go to previous winners at Talladega. And this is an interesting one because in the last 6 races, we have had, 6 different winners. So here they are right here. Tyler Reddick, Ross Chastain, Kyle Busch, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Ryan Blaney, and Chase Elliott. So there you go, your previous winners. Nobody in the double-digit win column there for Talladega. So very much a crapshoot of a race. If you like to focus on top 10s, that is also something that some people factor in. 4 apiece for Eric Jones and Fast Willie B. William Byron. So look out for those 2 as far as top 10s go. And of course, DNFs at a track like this. Usually I talk about laps led. Not really a factor here, but I can do laps led later. But I think DNFs are more of a factor. 5 DNFs for Harrison Burton, who's not in the race, but 3 DNFs apiece for Ty Gibbs and Daniel Hemrick, also not in the race, but Ty Gibbs with 3 DNFs. So Ty Gibbs, as good as he is here, he also gets a lot of DNFs, so I would factor that in. Joey Logano has had 2. Ryan Preece has had 2. Bubba Wallace has also had 2. Ross Chastain, Michael McDowell, and Austin Dillon, both with 2 apiece. Everybody else with 1s in the last 6 races, so look out for that. And if you want to go by average driver average rating, I said I'd do laps led. All right, sorry. 116 for Blaney, 93 for Logano, 83 for Michael McDowell. So if you're looking for somebody to stay at the front of the pack, maybe stay out of trouble, McDowell, Logano, and Blaney are going to be your guys there. But average rating, number-wise, from driveraverages.com, Chase Elliott's going to be your man to beat, according to them, followed by Ryan Blaney, William Byron, Kyle Larson, which jumped out at me, not only for that, but he's only had 1 DNF at Talladega since 2022. That jumped out at me quite a bit. So might be a sneaky, as crazy as it sounds, Kyle Larson might be a sleeper pick at Talladega. Hopefully I didn't just jinx him there. And then you got Ross Chastain, Austin Cindric, Noah Gragson, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Kyle Busch, Cole Custer, and Bubba Wallace, rounding out the rest of your top 10 or so in average ranking. All right. That's a wrap for that. So now I'm going to jump into the comment section and see what you guys want to talk about. Childers to RCR would be awesome, or maybe RFK otherwise, says Shy. So there you go. RFK is another option if you want to stay, if you wanted to go back to the Ford camp, I should say, after working with Hendrick and Chevrolet just a little bit. So that would be another. I wish I had more options. I just want to put every team on there. And WTF is with Spire and season break firings. I don't know. It was so random and out of the blue. An aggressive move, though. I will say this for it. It was an aggressive move, and if they just didn't feel like it was working out, there's no need to be miserable for both parties the rest of the season. So from that aspect, if it was mutual and they did both want to separate, it is good that they did it now and just get it over with, rip the Band-Aid off, be done with it. I do like it. From that, don't worry about what people are going to say about it. If it just wasn't a good fit for either one, it wasn't a good fit for either one. So I do like it from that perspective. You're not going to have a miserable season. Go ahead and get somebody else in there. And get the rest of the season figured out for next year for sure. Childers seems to play in the gray area of the rules, so he'd fit in well at RCR, says Tim Bray. So there you go. He likes to experiment with where the line is, no doubt about it. So that was for sure probably would be a good fit for him, Tim Brace. Good comment there, and a good comment from Shy and Napa as well. Rodney to Toyota, let's go places, says one wise guy. So one wise guy wants him with Toyota. So that would be the legacy option up there. I reckon, let's see, where is the poll at right now? 25% saying Trackhouse, 18% Legacy or other, 57% saying RCR, and no votes for Front Row. Terrible pick there. I should have put RCR, and I should have put RFK instead of Front Row, I reckon. Let's see. My takeaway is driver and crew chief are just not gelling, says Shy. That could definitely be it. Maybe there's some friction, which he said all the right things about Justin Haley, but you never know. Maybe there was just some. No, I'm not going to say friction. Maybe there was just a communication issue. Justin Haley, a young guy, he's so used to working with Kevin Harvick, a veteran. Maybe there was just a disconnect in the communication between them. Who knows what happened there? But just definitely a really, really crazy thing that it happened 9 races into the season. Just wild. And of course, Corey LaJoie last year, they let him go before the season was out as well. Holy cow, the crowd in Green Bay is for draft. For the draft is huge. Hey, NASCAR, that's what crowds should look like, says Bruce Garvey. Well, to your point, usually NASCAR tracks have more seating than any other venue. So if NASCAR races were held at football stadiums, I think they would look way more packed for sure. No doubt about it. But yeah, the NFL draft is going to pop off here in about an hour. So we started this one early here. As a Niner fan, who would you pick first in the NFL draft? That's a good question. I would probably shore up the defense somewhere. I think the offense hums pretty good. I don't think there's any real significant gaps in the offensive side of the ball. Maybe a wide receiver. I don't know. But I would say the defense probably needs to be shored up. As you saw last season, the Super Bowl, the defense was super important to stop the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think it'll be a defensive draft based on what happened in the Super Bowl. But aside from that, I couldn't tell you or anything like that. I'm just gonna relax and watch who they pick and stay in my lane talking about NASCAR stuff. I'm not I don't watch enough college football to be an expert. If I were a Niner fan, I would love Ashton Jonty, says Bruce Garvey. So yeah, whoever they pick, I'll pull for. So I'll leave it at that. A lot of good stories. A lot of people are fixing to become, well, I guess with the NIL, a lot of people are already millionaires. But this used to be a good day because you're going to watch a bunch of people become millionaires. But I guess you can become a millionaire when you go to college now. So that's going to be a little bit different. I'm not used to that. What's up, BB? Ready for Dega? Let's go, Larson, Elliott, Gibbs, and Byron. Says OJ and Toothpaste. So OJ's got his lineup there. Larson, Elliott, Gibbs, and Byron. He's Gibbs trained for life. And like I said, Ty Gibbs there, 121% in Xfinity. And I think it's just a matter of time before he gets a win in the Cup Series For sure. I think they weren't gelling, and Rodney got out of there before he got too deep, says one wise guy. That definitely could be the case for sure. On XYZ, I read Rodney said Haley was vertically challenged on Lord after an argument about the Lord of the Rings, says Aaron Flynn. So there you go. Maybe it was some trash talking that led to the early and abrupt exit. On the go with CeeLo. What's up, my friend? BB, just FYI, tell this awesome community we will be giving away 2 VIP passes to the Talladega Fall Race, giving away the pre. So there you go. Follow CeeLo. He's always streaming, especially on race day. If you can't watch the race, I know some people have had some issues with not having the CW and things like that. He's always going on race day. Great channel. So check him out. And he's giving away the passes in the 3rd stage. So there you go. Check him out and appreciate you jumping on here and letting them all know, CeeLo. Always great to have you on. And hopefully you get some Vols drafted here to some NFL teams that you like to pull for. I know you're a big Vols fan, also a big Denny Hamlin fan. So CeeLo, liking the orange there. You don't have the orange anymore, but you still got the purple with Denny at least. So you got the Tennessee orange and the purple back with Denny Hamlin. You got the blue there with purple with Yahoo, and then you got the petty blue now with oh dang, I just lost it. Amazon Prime or whatever. I can't remember. Who is it? Who sponsors him now? Oh man, lost it. Had it in my head and it jumped right out. Anyway, what's up, BB and crew? What's up, T-Van? Good to see you on here. Larson wrecked in practice today at Indy. He did for sure. Not too much to add about that. People wreck in practice. He's okay. I'll tell you what was interesting about that I did mean to bring up. He wrecked in practice, and Glock in the Discord server brought up a great point. If a Cup driver did an Indy 500 and wrecked and got injured and couldn't participate in the Cup side of the season because of what he was trying to do at Indy, that does bring up an interesting question. And what I brought up was Alex Bowman injured his back racing dirt, and Rick Hendrick was still like, you can still race dirt or whatever. Alex Bowman has decided not to race as much dirt since then, but he does still have the green light. So from that perspective, I think Hendrick would probably still be okay with it tentatively. However, Alex Bowman is a little bit different from Kyle Larson as far as name recognition and stuff like that outside of the sport. So I don't know exactly what the answer would be like for that. I guess it would be team to team. I know Joe Gibbs Racing would probably shut it down unless Ty Gibbs Teasus vetoed it. I feel like he has a good sway within that company. With tugging on grandpa's heartstrings, but I don't know. I think it would just be team to team and spot to spot as far as that goes. But it was a great question, so I wanted to give a shout out to Glock there in the Discord, always doing great things. OJ and Toothpaste saying what's up to CeeLo. Larson crashed his IndyCar today, says in between lanes. Indeed he did, and it brings up an interesting question that Glock brought up for sure. CeeLo saying what's up to everybody there. Gibbs got a win coming soon, says one wise guy. I think so too. I'm a big Ty Gibbs believer. I know he's really good. He'll put it together eventually for sure. Ola CeeLo says one wise guy. Practice. We're talking about practice, says in between the lanes. Not a game. We're talking about practice. Allen Iverson classic there. On the go with CeeLo saying Recce. So he's going with Recce spin house there. I really don't think Larson needs to embarrass the young Xfinity Series drivers. They do that pretty well themselves, says Bruce Garvey. So Bruce Garvey with the rim shot there. Yeah, for sure. Some of those restarts, green-white checkers toward the end of those races, that's a fair point for sure, Bruce. Good call there. CeeLo saying what's up to wise guy. I like Larson's attitude on kicking butt in Xfinity, but I don't think they